Partner texting guy and being silent about the fact she's in a relationship. My M35 so F34 has been texting an old guy friend. Some notes first, we are both divorcees with kids. So we have histories, but they're very similar and we've bonded over that a lot. We have supported each other through some very difficult times. I know what follows because her kids know how to use her phone to get on educational stuff and whatever, and one day they ran up to me and threw the unlocked phone in my lap as they ran outside, after messaging their dad, and this was just the next thread down. I don't know whether my so and this guy had a full-on relationship before, so whether he is actually an ex, or whether he is just an old close friend. I suspect an ex. After she split from ex-husband and before we met and got serious, it seemed like she was trying to initiate, saying things like, "Would be great to see you soon, let me know when you're free ex." He didn't really respond, and then when we got serious it seems like the tables turned and he started doing that, with kisses, and my so hasn't really been responding or actively trying to meet up since then. What bothers me most is that at no point has she said she's with me or even made reference to being in any kind of relationship, despite our relationship being life-changing. Why wouldn't she say to him unless she was trying to keep him in the wings? Some of the messages were about going somewhere significant. She was going with me and my kids and her kids, but she made no mention of us. That was about 3 months ago. Should I be worried? Background: she had an affair before she met me to help her get out of an emotionally abusive relationship. Says she never has before or ever will again. It was very much an abusive relationship. She freely disclosed this fact to me, though not the extent of it. But even so, the infidelity has always meant I have a really sensitive radar for stuff. I really ducking love her, and she is so perfect in every way except this concern that I always have. I know I mean so much to her, but I get so worried. Should I just let it slip? Is it excusable? Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1, have you ever considered the emotional abusing from the ex was that he dared be upset about her cheating? Never trust the narrative from a confessed cheater. They'll always paint themselves the victim. Redditor follow up, you win the internet. And I agree, there could have been emotional abuse by her former partner. Could have been on both sides. Cheating on someone is emotionally and arguably sexually as well in of itself. I'm sure the person that was cheated on was probably emotionally abusive after finding out about the affair. Calmer heads walk away when they discover cheating. But many people say and do things out of hurt after discovering an affair that would be out of character of them otherwise. Redditor 2, it might be excusable, but these things do not happen for nothing. Be a little wary and keep your eyes open. You probably need to dig more. An affair in the past is troubling because you can't know the circumstances. Op answer, thank you. I think that's a moderate and sensible approach. I fear that I've been trickle-truthed a bit about the affair. The thing is, I wasn't with her at the time, so part of me thinks I don't have a right, nor is it in my or our interests as a couple for me to go asking about every breath of the affair. Some things I don't need to know. I just need to know it is in the past, out of character, that I am the one and it will never happen again. Redditor 3, you should never let things slip when they cause doubt in your relationship. Tell her what happened and ask about the guy in a non-accusatory manner. Tell her you want to make sure you are still on the same page where your relationship is concerned. Whatever you do, don't come off as insecure, jealous or needy. Op answer, thanks. I may do that. I do feel like I've done this before though. Like when I first found out there was more to the affair than I'd first believed. I think I do come across as insecure, jealous, needy. Because I feel vulnerable due to all of this. How do you discuss these things without coming across that way? Story 2, Rule 1, don't cheat on me. In 2008, I met this amazingly awesome girl in school. Let's call her CR. I was 21 and she was just about to turn 19, and we both knew what love was for the first time in our lives. We were both going to a community college, me for theater design and her for education. We lived about half an hour apart, but that was nothing more than a minor inconvenience because we spent every free moment between classes together. Come to think of it, that slight distance was actually pretty nice because being home at least forced us to focus on homework and taking care of ourselves, and visiting each other at home was that much more special. CR graduated with her associates in 2009 and moved away to a state school to finish up her degree in early childhood special education. Like before, the distance was not a concern because it was a short train ride away and I'd spend 1 or 2 weekends a month down there with her. I proposed to her on Valentine's Day 2010. School wasn't really my thing and I ended up enlisting in the USAF that following May and got moved halfway across the country to a place neither of us had ever imagined visiting. However, like before, we wouldn't let distance get in our way. Now it should be noted that her mom did not like me. I still don't know why, but she was always the loudest, rudest, most annoying and disrespectful bag I've ever met. She was from the city and she married into a family of farmers that own the land since the 1870s, so that may explain part of her malice. From here on, evil bitches EB. Another thing to know is that I have a great memory, and this will be important later on in the story. Anyway, back to the military. I had a 2-week break between my training and leaving for my first and only duty station, which just happened to be over Christmas and New Year's. Even though we were engaged, we hadn't really put any consideration into actually getting married. She wanted something small with her family and cousins and I was completely okay with going to a courthouse and getting it over with. I don't want to sound like I was trying to pressure her into that, but the way I saw it, I would be living in barracks in a few weeks and being married would get me a full monthly housing allowance which I would save to have a wedding ceremony when we had time in another year or two. Basically, get married now, don't tell anyone because they would all get hella upset for not being involved and have a fake wedding ceremony that would include both of our families and friends. It turns out that because I was living in barracks I wasn't allowed to collect the housing allowance, and when, 6 months later, they realized I was actually married, kicked me out and made me get a house on base. Either way, we didn't get married when I was home on leave and took an Amtrak train out west. I highly recommend traveling cross country by train if you have the time. The first time we were able to see each other after that was during her spring break, which was the first part of March. CR and I finally eloped in a courthouse and spent the next few days glued to each other penis and vagina style like every young married couple should. I flew back home for a couple weeks in June, and this is when things started to unravel. Easter Seals, for those who don't know, runs summer camps for special needs kids, and my new wife volunteered to be a counselor for the last 7 weeks of the summer. The last time I saw her that summer was just after her June birthday when I dropped her off at camp. The rest of the summer was hit or miss getting in touch with her since she was on the clock 24 hours a day for 5 days a week and I completely understood her commitment to those kids. When she was back in school the following fall she became increasingly distant, making excuses about how her phone would be randomly dead at oddly predictable times every week. She flew out to spend Christmas with me in our new house, technically a city, mostly empty duplex, and things felt amazing like they had been. After that, however, she went back to being super reclusive like she was the previous semester. Fast forward to May 2012. I took a whole month of leave to fly home for her graduation and to help move her in with me. I barely recognized her. Every bit of CR's communication with me was effortless and so phony that I should have known what was really happening all along. She had set up what she called mock interviews with a couple grade schools near her hometown, and I actually believed that she was doing it just to get experience interviewing. What an idiot. When I finally started to catch on to how serious she was about getting a job in our home state, she broke down crying and made it seem like I was forcing her to choose between me and her career, and of course I wanted to put our marriage before anything else. Obviously I returned to base without her. A couple weeks later I pressured her into telling me what the hell was going on. She fell in love with one of her fellow camp counselors and let the affair go on for about 9 months, with claims that she was going to tell me but didn't know when, the usual too guilty to tie your own shoes bullshit, and she honestly expected me to walk away from our relationship right then and there. No. I fought tooth and nail to hold us together for 2 months before filing the divorce. I'm skipping a bunch of sappy details here, but the divorce was filed late August and became final that December, mandatory 90-day waiting period in my state. The pain I suffered in that one-sided relationship is something I would never wish on anybody unless that truly deserved it. Apparently EB whispered all kinds of lies to her about how I joined the military to get away from her and actually had the gall to blame me for all the crying and misery her oldest child was going through. My soon-to-be ex never admitted who was blaming me for everything, but I was really close to her dad and siblings, so I can't imagine that they would ever suspect me, but EB was so manipulative that by Halloween they had all turned against me. At that point I had it. I was near suicidal and my anxiety attacks were hitting basically every day. I was miserable, tired of being lied to, tired of the slander, tired of being the bad guy when I was the one who was attacked here. It started with sending texts to her brothers and sister saying, "Hey, I'm actually your brother-in-law. Nice to know that we don't keep secrets, right?" CR exploded. But that was just the beginning. I wrote a 3,000-word letter explaining in every detail I could recall exactly what happened, the fact that we were married, including copies of the marriage license and certificate, our plans for the future, and how I was the only one living up to our expectations, where she met the guy she was ducking behind my back, his name, address, phone number, camp counselor name, so CR would have a harder time refuting it, and a bunch of other information that she made me keep secret from them. I sent copies to everyone in her extended family, everyone I had an address for, her roommates, the summer camp she worked at, close professors she had brought up in old conversations, and the principal of the school she ended up working at. Calling the fallout catastrophic is an understatement. Her super devout Catholic family basically disowned her. Her reputation at her former school was shattered, and the tension at her new job was apparently high enough that CR was forced to resign from her position before Christmas break started. Getting those secrets off my chest was the most cathartic moment of my life. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, cheating is one of the most shittest human actions that can be done to someone you love. Sorry to hear that. The one who stays loyal and faithful to only you is the true one. Good revenge though, very nice. Hoping your future goes amazingly. Answer, thanks. My first real relationship after that turned into a rebound marriage, but after a rocky start we have a nearly 5-month-old girl and we'll be celebrating our 5th anniversary in September. Redditor 2, brutal, but completely ducking deserved on her part. Honestly can never understand what the duck is wrong with people when it comes to cheating. Like, just say you don't want to be together, then duck right off out of my life and do whatever the duck you want to do then? Vile. I hope you find someone who has some integrity and honesty, and who loves you in the way that you deserve. And probably don't tell this story to any potential future lovers, ha ha ha. Redditor follow-up, I did it once, when 17 my entire friend group had outright stated that if I broke up with the guy who left for basic plus other training a month and a half into the 1-year relationship, they wouldn't talk to me again, since he was their friend first, and I still feel awful. And that was with me stopping what I was doing before it went anywhere and immediately calling him to say what I did. I can't understand how someone can lie to another person for months. Like, that was my worst mistake and it was bad enough. Redditor 3, my old roommate's older brother did just this. His wife started an affair with someone she met on a work trip. Continued on with this affair for almost a year before one day, she told him that she wanted a divorce and moved a few states away. It took him a long time and a therapist to get his mind around his failed marriage and the divorce, but when he realized that while he could have worked to make the marriage work, it was his ex-wife who ended up cheating, he essentially did the something and emailed everyone, not only within their circles but everyone in her contact list, her employer, and then he took it a step further and shared it with everyone he could find that knew the guy she cheated on with. The fallout: none of her friends or family really talked to her. Eventually the guy couldn't deal with the fallout from his own family and friends after a while and broke things off with her. Yeah, he got a pretty angry email after she found out that not only did he involve her whole life but also his. Thought that was pretty pro-revenge. Last I heard, she basically had to start a new life. Redditor 4, whoa, such simple revenge, but an epic one there.